So the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think they just quietly tipped their next move. And the Steelers are set to meet with one of the top young prospects in this year's NFL draft. No more guessing right now. This is a situation that's actually developing. It's not conjecture. The Steelers are doing their due diligence and not really allowing themselves to be held hostage by Aaron Rodgers anymore. They are taking matters into their own hands. And the Athletic's Mike DeFabo, he reported on Friday that the Steelers will host the former SEC signal caller, Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart. He's got a top 30 visit scheduled with the Pittsburgh Steelers in April per league sources. Now, this is a legitimate meeting. It's not just conjecture. And I'm going to go through this, but I just want to say to you guys, 1,000 subscribers. Thank you so much. This is Sports Talk Steelers. I like to say, primarily I'm a Bears guy for Bears channel, but my love for Justin Fields brought me here, and my hatred for Aaron Rodgers might keep me here. But regardless, you guys, this team is really fun to cover, and I'm going to continue to give you an impartial view on the Pittsburgh Steelers on the daily. Join us, help us build this. Hit the subscribe button would be a huge blessing. So let's go to going through this fit with Jackson Dart. But before that, I think it's really important to give you an honest assessment of what's actually going on. And spoiler alert, the answer is no one quite knows for certain what's going on. It's looked like the Steelers have tipped their hand several times before already. So let's kind of get into it. We have the news of Jackson Dart visiting on a top 30 visit in the near future. Colin Cowherd. I don't usually love Colin Cowherd's takes, but for what it's worth, he reported that the Steelers love Jalen Milroe out of Alabama and will definitely take him if he's available at 21. So now we go to ESPN's Matt Miller. He's reporting that the Steelers are candidates to trade all the way up to number 4 to draft Shedeur Sanders if he slips past Cleveland and the Giants. I just covered a possible trade up to the 10th overall pick with the Bears as well. That's gaining a lot of steam. And then A.J. Hawk, he said on the Pat McAfee show that Aaron Rodgers, he loves Pittsburgh. He loves the staff, the front office, everything about them. Then why are you leaving them dangling? It's kind of ridiculous. Multiple sources with that are reporting that it's a matter of when, if not if, Rodgers signs with the Steelers. Believe it when I see it. I'm about ready that I think that the Steelers should tell him to kick rocks and retire. That's just me. Adam Schefter, he reported that the Steelers are prepared to go into the season with Mason Rudolph as their quarterback if Rodgers doesn't sign. So I think what this tells us is that the only thing I know is that nobody knows, including maybe even the Steelers. Maybe they don't even know. So let's go by definites. Let's look at what is concretely happening. So let's start with who the Steelers have met with in preparation for this NFL draft. The guys they've met with. They met with Alabama's Jalen Milroe, Texas's Quinn Ewers, and Ohio State's Will Howard so far. All these were meetings the day before the pro day. Multiple staff members, team top brass taking these players out to dinner. So this has legitimately happened. And Milroe in particular, he's gaining a lot of steam as a prospect that they really love. So now we're talking about Jackson Dart coming to town for a top 30 visit. And if we're being honest, there's not really a realistic chance of landing Miami's Cam Ward or Colorado's Shedeur Sanders unless there's a trade-up scenario. I mean, I think that's pretty reasonable. But if we look at Dart specifically as a prospect, we had him beginning at Southern Cal before transferring to Ole Miss in 2022. Now, his time at Ole Miss was significant because he broke Eli Manning's program career passing record. Eli Manning's record was 10,119 yards. Dart eased past that with 10,617 yards of his own. So, and he also threw for a really nice completion percentage. His college career completion percentage is a pretty impressive 65.2. And you can't say that that's impressive, though, without looking at another player. That's Jalen Milroe. His completion percentage was 65% as well. So you can't say one's impressive and the other one he really needs to improve. I just wanted to throw that in there. We're looking at the Steelers as well, not giving up on Rodgers, but even if they did sign him, really good idea to get a younger guy behind him. And And yeah, that's just a really good idea. And I think Dart might be the target here. We're also looking at the possibility of even trading for Milton from the Patriots. I'm going to cover that tomorrow, but we're looking at this Ole Miss prospect, Jackson Dart. Is it likely? I think it's unlikely that he'd be able to walk into the building and be immediately the day one starter. He's got to be developed. Any of these guys that they draft besides the top two, they need some development. And his game could have time to develop behind either Aaron Rodgers or Mason Rudolph. And the Packers, they're really smart. They allow a quarterback to sit for a year or two, let him develop. Jordan Love wasn't the number one prospect on the board when he was drafted, but Green Bay was willing to be patient and develop him. Maybe the Steelers can do the same. Now we're looking at Bucky Brooks. He became the latest expert to mock Jackson Dart to the Steelers at 21 overall. Let's hear directly what he had to say about the player. If Pittsburgh can't land Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, that means this is old, the Ole Miss product would give the Steelers a future starter to develop behind Mason Rudolph. That was on NFL.com. I mean, opinions are all over the place on Dart. We're all going to have our opinions, but most seem to kind of come to a consensus that he's the third-ranked quarterback in this draft class. But this is also a draft class where people think none of the top quarterbacks that are available right now, none of them would have beat out any of the first 6 picks of last year's draft. So you kind of got to take that into account. And being the third quarterback taken in a class like this, if you compare it to last year's, kind of seems risky, doesn't it? I think there's a legitimate argument to be made whether Dart is even the third best prospect. Maybe it's Will Howard that the Steelers met with just during Ohio State's pro day. It's really possible. So if they do have a strong preference, it'd be in their best interest to hold their cards close to their chest, though. There might be some trading opportunities here. And let's also kind of look at Alex Kazara's. He's from Steelers Depot. He wrote this pretty nice write-up of Jackson Dart, exactly what he thinks of him. And his opinion's a little different. He views Jackson Dart as a 5th rounder. So let's kind of hear him out. Overall, Dart, he does a lot of things well, and kudos to him for being tough and being a gamer. He'll earn the respect of the locker room in no time, but there aren't a lot of things that he does great. Not much that wows. I mean, that doesn't inspire a ton of confidence, does it? Where should he be ranked as a draft pick this year? Do some of you think that we need to spend a first-round pick on him? Would he be available in the 3rd? What's his value? Write it up in the comments. I'd love to interact with you, but kind of the book on Dart, let's look at raw numbers. He led the SEC in completion percentage, passing yards, and passer efficiency rating last season. I mean, that is impressive. And in the SEC, no less. He completed 276 of his 398 attempts, 4,279 yards, 29 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. That's nice. And this is when Ole Miss, they just narrowly missed this revamped college football playoff of 12 teams. But looking at the Ole Miss team, so many prospects, so many guys going early in the draft, it kind of doesn't really bode well for his draft stock if he wasn't able to elevate all this talent on this team to at least a 12-team playoff. I mean, that is something that's a knock on him. But these marks, the way that he performed in the SEC, I think he actually warrants consideration for the Steelers number 21 overall. You guys let me know, is Jackson Dart a guy that can develop for a year or two and move in as a top-of-the-line starter? Or does he kind of give you Kenny Pickett vibes? You guys let me know. It's been great growing this channel with you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Later.